David Bay here from MuscularDevelopment.com. I am with Peter McGuff. We just wrapped things up here at the 2014 Europa Orlando Super Show. Peter, a little bit anticlimactic here for the finals. No real big surprises in the way things played out tonight, is there?
Yeah, but it was a great contest. It was great yesterday when we saw these two guys come out, John De La Rosa and Justin Compton, and thought, wow, we have got a contest. We've got, we've had disappointing qualifying shows before where at least we had a story here of two young guys coming out, who could represent the future, both pretty complete, no major weaknesses, and so it really was a great contest to watch between those two. Not to downgrade the other guys, there were some other really good physiques in the show.
I suppose I should have chose my words a little wiser. I don't want to say anticlimactic and suggest that that this wasn't a good show and that it wasn't exciting to watch. I know Justin coming out yesterday people were just shocked, and then Justin and John were number 1 and 2. So Justin comes out and everybody's just like, wow, he looks phenomenal, and then John comes out right after, and with the improvements he made, it's definitely been an exciting show. And being a smaller one, you never know what to expect. So I definitely agree with you that even though the bottom half of the lineup, weakened significantly, it was still a good lineup. Kind of a two-person show between Justin and John, but Fred Smalls looked pretty good. Probably one of the better appearances we've seen for Fred. Daniel Toth in 4th place. He looked pretty good as well. And Eddie Wilson. Aside from Justin and John, talk to us about the guys who rounded out the top 5.
Well, I think this was probably Fred Small's best look. He was conditioned and he was fuller and he had a bit more balance, so I think he's on the right track. Daniel Toth, who I'm told you pronounce it Tot in Hungary, I'm told this. If he could sort of just wean those obliques down, he could do major damage. He's got a lot of muscle. He was almost, in some ways, a Justin Compton lookalike, facially and everything. Eddie Wilson was very impressive. I was surprised not to see Marius Done from South Africa in that top 5. I thought he was hard, he was thick. I thought he looked terrific, and I think he should have been up there in the top 3 or 4. I also think that An Nguyen had a great look to him, hard, really hard, maybe harder than anybody tonight. So it was a good contest to watch.
Yeah, it definitely got interesting after the top 2 or maybe 3, because you had a handful of guys you could have flip-flopped depending on what you were going for. Yeah. And Nguyen, Marius Done, a couple of people. At prejudging yesterday, they brought out a top 6. We had assumed that Ben White was going to be at the bottom of that call-out. He was. When they did confirmation rounds tonight, they didn't call out the top 6. They just called out the top 5, indicating that Ben hadn't been in the top 5 before they actually awarded placings. But they did have Ben in the middle in the next confirmation round with Marius at his side, so you're probably still going to see Ben in 6th place. So, again, a couple of things I think could have flip-flopped at this show, but when you get guys who are close to their peak but not kind of there, I think that leaves room open for interpretation for the judges. And it might sound a little bit cliche, but if you want to guarantee yourself a spot, you really got to knock it out of the park and come in at your best.
Yeah, I mean, Ben White in particular, obviously he's had a couple of years off and he went for a really streamlined look, condition, but, lost a lot of size and wasn't, Ben needs to be Ben. Ben is a big guy. When he won the USA a few years ago, big round muscles, thick chest, trading on muscle, nice shape to him. He gets back to that. He's won pro shows, he'll come back again. It was a strange look for him, but everybody has to try something once, and I think it was a great show and it was a great atmosphere. Ed and Betty Pariso put on a great show. It was a sort of a feel-good show about the whole thing.
Yeah, there was the energy at this show. The expo is, and this is a neat setup because the pro stage, and hopefully in some of the video that we've got, you guys can see this. But we have the expo in the background, and the pro stage is right here, and we have wrestling, and we have gymnastics, and we have CrossFit, and there's all this stuff going on right in one big expo hall. So you're absolutely right. There's an energy here that's undeniable, and that it makes for a really fun event. Again, Ed and Betty Parezo did a great job of putting this whole thing together. When I came here, I wasn't quite sure. You know, a lot of the shows you're used to seeing an expo somewhere separate, excuse me. But it works out pretty well having everything mixed together, which you know, makes me think that maybe with a new format at the Arnold next year, it might work out pretty well.
Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, and you know, they may be the hardest working couple in bodybuilding at the moment. They put on these great shows, and they were rewarded by having, you know, Justin turn up in shape, and John turn up in shape, and Fred Smalls, and all the rest of them. You know, and you know, we can talk about bodybuilders being off and all the rest of it. But God love them. You know, the fact that they'll get up there.
You sound like Adina now. God love them. God love them.
God love them. I tell y'all. But you know. And God love you, David, because you're going to get up there in 2 weeks' time and do your own thing. And you got through this without, you know, fainting or, you know,
that's right, doing all right.
So, we had a great time. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we most certainly did have a great time. So I'd like to thank Ed and Betty Parezo for their hospitality here. Again, a really fun event. Not one of the biggest shows of the year, but definitely a good time. So we're going to wrap things up here. Hopefully you guys can get a chance to come back to MD tomorrow and early into next week and check out all the coverage, live video feeds of the posing routines and everything else that went on at the show tonight. So for David Bay and Peter McGuff, Muscle Papa John behind the lens for MuscularDevelopment.com at the 2014 Europa Super Show.